hello, and thanks for tuning in as always. I have the chance to sit down with Jeremy Hanson today, Vice President of Exploration and Director at Garibaldi Resources. Jared, it's been a while since we've had you on the show. How you been keeping?
Been doing well up here in Smithers. Had a good winter so far.
And what's there to do for fun in Smithers in the winter?
Snowmobiling. Been doing quite a bit of ice fishing. Yeah. Right, four little rugrats running around here as well. So
that keeps you pretty occupied.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I think with this interview, what we wanted to do is review some of the results from 2020 at both Casper and Nickel Mountain, and then kind of have a discussion on what people could expect in 2021. So I think we'll start with Casper, seeing as those were the most recent results that the company put out. And I have the slides here. So this is the plan view of your drilling that you included in the news release. So Jared, what do you think are the key pieces of information they should focus on from the news release that you put out a while? I know it's been a few weeks now, but
yeah. So the key takeaways here, if I had to sum it up really succinct, would be that we've intercepted multiple gold veins as well as a silicified volcanic unit that contains gold, visible gold. And so what's important there is that that's evidence for a very significant hydrothermal system that's obviously carrying gold. So what we want to do is vector towards where those system, where the gold veins and the silicification is kind of coming from. And that should be a nice big juicy hotspot.
Okay, so what you're seeing now, or what you've encountered, I guess, so far is more the upper expression of perhaps something that's at depth, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So as these fluids kind of go further away from their source, they're going to get concentrated in the veins that we see here, which is the fluid's going to travel up fractures in the country rock and be deposited. But so as you get closer to where the fluid is coming from, it's probably getting part of that silicification, where it's a similar process as veining. Silicification, if you're not a geologist, is probably something you don't hear often, but it's basically hydrothermal fluids kind of percolating through the rocks, and then as they percolate through, they're going to get concentrated into cracks, and then they create veins. So it's all part of the same process. What we want to do is kind of go backwards to see where that silicification and those fluids are coming from.
Okay. So were you surprised at all with, say, the grades that you encountered, or even the widths on the veins? I know like some of your prior backpack drilling or the surface sampling produced some really impressive grades, and the results that you got when you actually drilled were a bit lower. Is it normal to see something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's incredibly nuggety, the nugget effect here. This is a perfect example of the nugget effect, right? When people talk about that. So we have visible gold in the vein. So, you could drill 5 centimeters to the right and the grade could be, completely different. So you go 10 centimeters to the left and there could be absolutely, nothing in it if you just go through a section without. So it does take, a lot of drill density and a lot of data to kind of get a firm handle on what these gold grain or gold veins can run. So, I mean, at surface, we've got about 80 channel samples there. We've got up to 249 grams per ton. And in that one, there's a picture on our website, and you can see the gold grains in there. And then if you go look at some of the other samples that have a bit more of the sulphides in them, those are around 5 or 10 grams per ton. So it's very hard to predict when you drill something what it's going to run. It's
okay. Is it realistic to think the veins from a width perspective could get wider as you go deeper?
Yeah, absolutely, they could. So when you're exploring for these kind of veins or these vein systems, what you want to look for is maybe where there's another structure that these veins are going to run into there, and then it might kind of open up and dilate a bit more. And when you get that dilation in the earth, that's where your high grade gold usually occurs. And so certainly these things could get quite a bit thicker, especially if, we've got, what we encountered was 3 veins in our drill core, and we know that there's other ones at surface. So where all those are coming from, if they'll kind of have one source, it certainly could be a much bigger, wider zone.
Okay. Did these initial results help your understanding of the system? Does it look like you drilled the right way, or based on what you found in the initial drilling, would would you change the approach going forward?
No. So we accomplished what we wanted to do. Our main goal here was to verify that this vein system does exist below surface, and we're not just working away on something that only exists at the surface of the earth. So our initial goal is to prove that these veins are continuing underground, and try to establish a strike or more or less the dip of them. So as you're drilling to the northeast, our theory was that they were dipping either subvertical or to the southwest, so you could actually drill through them perpendicular. So that was what we wanted to confirm, which we did. We could, when we go back and drill, we could test to see if there is another vein system dipping the opposite direction to if we were drilled to the southwest. But overall, it did what we were hoping to find.
Okay. And do you have any sense for what the priority targets would be for follow-up, and what the strategy would be for finding the higher grade material?
It'd be pretty tough to kind of hone in on where the higher grade material stuff is. I'm thinking from a geophysical perspective, because it is a quartz vein. It doesn't have a big signature there. We've kicked tires about doing IP to see if it's got enough sulphide in it that it would pick up against the country rock in the vein. So we've got some physical property testing going on. That might be one way to help us kind of see where these veins are going. But our initial, like in the spring, once the snow melts, what we want to do is we want to get back there and do more mapping and try to figure out the relationship that's between we've got a volcanic unit at surface that's running a couple grams gold. So that might be part of these silicified gold bearing volcanics. As you can see there's not a lot of outcrop. You got to make your own outcrop. So we got to go in there and do a bit more groundwork and try to do some mapping to see where we can try to sense which way the system may be going and how the high grade gold veins are related to the silicified volcanics.
Okay. And when you talk about the silicified volcanics, you're referring to these sort of areas.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So this red dotted area here. So this is a volcanic unit, and the silicification is going throughout this unit here, and there is some visible gold right around here. So you can see these veins are up here. So in theory, like if you were to draw, let's say this vein continues all the way down like that, and this silicified stuff may come in and meet up with it. And so if you could find a zone where these veins and these silicified units are kind of coming together, that might be a hotspot.
So I know you did a bunch of trenching and soil sampling in 2021. Will that continue in 2021?
Yeah, certainly the soils do work quite well to highlight these veins, which is a relatively easy way to explore for them. So we'll certainly be continuing to do more soil grids, more trenching to try to expand it. It's still open to the northwest and to the southeast, and the southeast kind of curls into a creek there, and so we mapped quite a bit of the creek, and we found some more vein stuff a little bit further to the east and as well to the south as well. So yeah, we'll continue. We'll start off with mapping, trenching, some soil grids. Hopefully we can do some sort of geophysics there that's going to help find these veins or silicified units stand out against the country rock, and then get back there and keep extending it laterally into depth, and with the ultimate goal of seeing where these silicification of the veins are going to come together at some big juicy pluton or something.
Okay. And do you have an idea, Jer, on when you would be able to start all this?
Once the snow melts, that's probably going to be. This is only at 400 meters above sea level, so it's not like we got to wait, for the middle of summer for everything to be melted off. Usually, I would say enough snow is going to be out of there by May that it's reasonable to get in there.
Okay, by May. So at least a good month before you would normally start at Nickel Mountain then.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So that's same thing as what we did last year. Is we go and set up our camp in kind of the middle of May, end of May. Allow the snow to kind of get out of the way down at the lower elevations. Then we can start working, doing soils and tromping through the creeks and doing some prospecting as the snow at higher elevation melts.
Okay. Now, I know your neighbor to the east there, SK, they've had some success with VMS targets. Will Garibaldi be shifting any work towards like the eastern portion of the Palm Springs property at all to look at that type of mineralization? I believe you did a VTEM on that property a few years back. Like, would there be any drill ready targets based on the info you got from that?
Yeah, so we picked up originally the Palm Springs project was picked up for the VMS potential, and then the E&L project was added, almost immediately afterwards, and that took, basically all of our focus in 2017, 18, 19. So we have been working on the VTEM, or sorry, not VTEM, the VMS targeting, and we've got a bunch of sulphide pods around, and we seem to have quite a bit of zinc that pops up, fairly ubiquitously across the property. So trying to narrow down where that's coming from. And we've got some targets that we've done a bit of mapping. They're VTEM anomalies, so that you can tell there's a conductor there. We've got some sulfides there. Some of them are drill ready, but I'd probably get a bit more geophysics, maybe some IP to try to figure out where they are and kind of fine tune the resolution there before you poke a drill hole in it.
Okay, so next steps there is IP then before you
yeah, there's a couple different. There's some. We've got one of our targets though is kind of rather inaccessible, so we need some rock climbing geos to go down there and confirm what it is. It's a VTEM anomaly that is kind of and a Gothan that you can see kind of on the side of a cliff. But we got to get the rock climbers back to go test it at surface before we kind of throw anything else at it.
Okay. Well, let's switch to Nickel Mountain then. It was a big year in 2020 with, understanding the system. You were able to identify the eastern extensional zone in a much bigger way, I think, which was important. Now, the last holes, I believe it was on New Year's Eve, I think, that it got posted. I think there were 6 holes. Can you walk viewers through the key takeaways for some of the holes that you drilled, the last holes?
Yeah, certainly. So the highlight out of that one is hole 96, which is going to be this hole here. So it started up at surface here in the. I'm trying to get my cursor there. It started up there to highlight it. Basically right above the northwest zone, so we were able to get some more definition going through the E&L zone, and it extended the lower discovery zone a little bit, and then went through this big succession of Nickel Mountain gabbro, and then back into the E&L gabbro down here, which is this lower eastern extensional zone. So this gabbro here appears to be a bit layered. We've got what's called in kind of this bottom section here. Either an olivine peroxenite or a wurlite, so another type of mineralized gabbro. And so at the same thing at the contact here, where the edge of this purple unit, which is the gabbro, where the contact, we did intercept a little bit of semi-massive sulfides there. So the kind of the key takeaway there is that it's very similar to the geological setting of the northwest zone here, where you've got the Hazelton sediments, you've got a gabbro, and then at that contact you see some semi-massive sulfides. And as you keep following that chamber down, obviously it led us into the north, or the lower discovery zone. So that's kind of the same theory here. We've got this unit mineralized gabbro here, so we want to continue to follow this chamber down this way, and find where there may be another big pool of massive sulfide.
Right. Okay. So I think that brings up my next question was, do you have a good idea of where you actually want to start drilling in 2021 at Nickel Mountain? Like, where would be the highest priority target for you to start, and why? Why would you pick that particular target?
The highest priority is going to be continuing to extend the eastern extensional zone down to the southeast. It's still wide open down there. We don't know. We've got no sign of it closing. So what we've got to do is continue to find the conduit of it. So we may do that from the top of the ridge, like we've been drilling for the last couple of years. hopefully, once we extend this chamber, say another 100 meters in elevation, then we'll be able to drill it from the cat roads that are beside the adit there, which would make the logistics quite a bit easier. So that's probably going to be our first go is extending this to the southeast. Now, I mean, we're hoping to do some geophysics that are going to potentially see a bit deeper here. So we've done VTEM, 2 rounds of VTEM here. We might do some ZTEM, which will look a bit deeper than the previous geophysics. And what we want to do from that is hopefully that will show us where the gabbro body is trending, and we can see it from the geophysics instead of drilling these 800-900 meter holes from the top of the surface.
Right. Would IP geophysics be useful at all here as well, like in lower down?
It's certainly we've kicked tires quite a bit about doing borehole IP here. The issue is that you have to have an open hole, as in so we do our borehole EM, we can line it with plastic with a PVC pipe, and that pretty much guarantees that the hole stays open for the EM probe to go down and back up. But when you do borehole IP, it has to have that probe in contact with water and the rock, so you can't line it with plastic. And there's enough faults like the gully fault and stuff that if once you stick a probe down there and just hope that the hole's going to stay open, is the chances of that happening are pretty low. But it could work very well. It might, if you really wanted to do it, we would probably have to cement, say, 2 800-900 meter holes that are about 500 meters apart, and then we would be able to, fairly confidently get some borehole IP done. But it's a big risk, because you might spend all that money and then you send the probe down and you go, oh, the hole's blocked, can't do anything.
Okay. So you talked about probably starting from up on the ridge again, like you have in the past, but hopefully being able to move the pads down lower on the trails leading to the adit. If you were to move the pads down to the lower elevation and be able to successfully drill from there, would you be able to extend the drill season at all based on that? And would you be still relying on water from the adit for those drills?
Did we have a picture? No. I don't think it would extend. Yes, that picture would work better. So let me start here. So this is in this area here. This is where we started drilling in 2020. Then we popped down. We put a pad here. Hole 96. Our last hole was drilled here, kind of across the system and down like this. So if we can't, the adit should be about here. Now, this is a bit misleading because this is projected to surface. You can't just walk across the surface and see this purple gabbro body. Obviously, it's within the mountain. So we can, if we can get down, you can barely see it in this image, but there are some cat roads that kind of go up like this.
Yeah.
If we do some geophysics that sees a bit deeper and sees this trending body continue to go down, and we can drill them from these cat roads, it'll make our life quite a bit easier because the water's right there. I don't know if it will allow us to extend the drill season much, just because you'd have an avalanche risk coming from up here. That once there's 6 feet of snow up there, then it would be rather foolish to continue drilling down there. But it would certainly lower our costs significantly if we were working down here than up at the top.
Okay.
So
sorry, go ahead, Jer.
Oh no, so that's what we're hoping for, and we'll probably do it regardless, is to test the down southeastern plunge of the gabbro body from those cat roads.
Okay. And yeah, obviously that saves a bunch of meters, right? The meters are
certainly right. Yeah, if you don't got to drill that top 400 meters of Hazelton volcanics that we know are there, we can just bypass that and kind of get right into the gabbro body and much sooner. It's enormous savings.
Okay. With respect to the geophysics you did in 2020, I'm assuming you're continuing to do borehole EM. Has that helped at all with respect to identifying new targets?
Yeah, certainly. So what the borehole EM does is, what it's primarily helped us with in 2020 is kind of map out the contact of the eastern extensional gabbro with the Hazelton group, because it does have that layer of semi-massive sulphide that kind of hangs out at the bottom. So like when we do our borehole EM, it'll often put, like, you can say, a plate there, maybe a plate here. And so what that does is it kind of allows us to see the boundaries of the gabbro chamber. And then so we can kind of predict which way it's going. So it certainly does help. And then we do test these plates and continue to find some semi-massive sulphide there. But what we're obviously looking for is, a big, 10, 20, 30 meter thick pool of sulphide down the bottom. So we're, focusing on continuing to go down this corridor.
With respect to the number of drill rigs that you'd be running in 2021, do you think it would be a single one, or do you think you would be able to use multiple rigs, especially if you were drilling, say, lower and maybe one up higher?
Yeah, we haven't finalized our drill plans yet. I mean, we're hoping to get some geophysics done first, and base it largely off what we're going to see, 400 or 500 meters below surface. Yes, certainly we can operate, 2-3 drills, no problem.
Okay.
But we haven't figured out our drilling campaign quite yet, as it is going to be largely dependent on this deeper looking geophysics.
Okay. Any plans to move the camp closer to the hill, especially if you're going to be drilling lower? Like, would that help you save downtime? Is that even realistic?
We've crunched the numbers there a couple times. If you were to leave all the core out there, then it would save you. But if you're still going to end up flying all the core out, it doesn't really save you much. So yeah, we've thought about it, but at the end of the day, it's not worth it.
So as of now, it sounds like status quo.
Yeah.
Okay. The downtime in between seasons, I know you sometimes get a chance to kind of review all the data, compile everything, strategize. Has this downtime since the end of the drill season resulted in, like, any new ideas on how you would approach things in 2021?
So maybe let's find a property map here. So what our plans here for 2021 are to do some geophysics here, probably rather rapidly. The weather should be, starting to turn for the better here. Our focus when we do geophysics is first going to be on Nickel Mountain and the surrounding areas, to see that a little bit deeper, hopefully guide us to where the gabbro is plunging. We are very interested about this western part of Nickel Mountain there. So that's where we've got orbicular mineralized E&L gabbro there. It's quite a stretch I would say to think that those boulders came from over here, because it does have this very big gully in between the Nickel Mountain outcrops and these boulders that we found over here of the same mineralized rock. So hopefully geophysics over here can, have a nice big anomaly over there. So, and we'll be doing some more groundwork over here as well. We haven't put in, this was kind of near the end of the season. We were starting to find those mineralized boulders, and then, of course, the snow comes and kind of covers everything up. So that'll be part of our early season focus, is geophysics targeting the western extent here. Obviously, Nickel Mountain looking a bit deeper. Mount Shirley, that's another very interesting area there. So we've found 2 outcrops of magmatic nickel there of massive sulfides. So more geophysics over here to help hopefully define maybe where those gabbros and massive sulfides are coming from. And again, that was very end of the season. Everything got covered in snow. More mapping, probably some more surface geophysics up here on Mount Shirley to figure out where those massive sulfides are coming from. Those are our highest priorities. And then we've got, as you can see here, lots and lots of other stuff to continue to get up to drill targets.
Okay. Is it too early to say whether you'd be able to get out in the field earlier this year versus 2020?
I would certainly think we can. I mean, winter last year was quite a bit more significant snowpack. So I think as long as we have some decent weather this spring and it melts the snow, then we should be able to get out there a bit earlier than we did last year, at least out in the mountaintops.
Okay. Any plans for work on other properties in 2021? So, examples like Surprise Lake in the Atlin area, or any follow-up work at Salina?
Probably not at Sedina. So the ones that I'm excited about is Red Lion, which is out in the not but out in the Kemess area. So it's right beside Clayul. I don't know if your listeners know or aware of that project. So that's a porphyry project that has seen some pretty good success lately. And so we're right beside that along trend. We've got a soil. We did some soils on it not last year, the year prior. It got a nice copper and soil anomaly. That's quiescent with some IP chargeability highs from 2016. So that's one that we're quite excited about. We've got the Grizzly project that we're be doing something on. We're not entirely sure. That's west of Dease Lake and up in Atlin. We've got some stuff to do up there. So I mean, so what the government did in BC when the pandemic hit in March 2020. Anyone who had a claim in March. I forget the exact date, but sometime around March from 2020, is they protected it until the end of 2021. So you didn't have to do any work on it in 2020 or in 2021. But if you want to keep those claims, you still have to do the work required to keep them good until that date. So there'll be, some not a ton of work, but we're going to have to do something to keep these projects in good standing. But I'm quite excited about a couple of them there for sure.
So would you be getting to the point of actually diamond drilling Red Lion, do you think, Jer, or is it too early?
It's the only thing left to do would maybe a bit more soils and do some more powerful IP or tighten up more line spacing. But I mean, we've pretty much got a drill target there. You've got a mapped, it's a late Triassic diorite unit that's known for hosting porphyries out in that part of BC. You've got a copper and soil anomaly over many hundreds of meters, and you've got an IP chargeability high. So, I mean, it's pretty much teed up to poke it with a hole. I'm not saying we will this year. I'd like to, but, it comes down to budgeting and time.
Right. Okay. So obviously the budgeting and the planning, that sounds like it's still kind of a fluid thing right now, right?
Yeah, certainly. So that's obviously PDAC this week, so it's the time when everyone's kind of bumping elbows with everyone and seeing what kind of capital raises we're going to do this year.
What are you most excited about in 2021 with respect to exploration?
Is looking deeper in that E&L chamber and just following that down. We really want to keep following that down. So that new unit that we found there, the olivine peroxenite, that's got some pretty good looking disseminated sulphides in it. So if we can find where that's pooling from, that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah. I guess the nice thing here is, I mean, from a scale potential, you've still got quite a bit of distance to work with to the valley floors, assuming, things don't get faulted off, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, the closer we get to the valley floor, the better it is for everyone.
Okay. Well, Jer, appreciate the quick update on things, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from you in the not too distant future as the company kind of finalizes some more plans and such. And it's it's good to hear that you think you'll be able to get out maybe a little bit earlier this year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for having us. As well, we're in the PDAC Core Shack this week, so if anyone wants to go check that out as well, I've got to give them a plug.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, until then, Jer, stay safe and stay warm in Smithers, and we'll be talking soon, I'm sure.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Bye.